Hello friends, Jen Brookmans here. I'm a coach for sensitive souls and empaths who struggle with the overwhelm and emotional fatigue that comes with being highly sensitive. I combine meditation, mindfulness, and self-exploration to help them dive deeper and find empowerment in being sensitive while guiding them to a more connected, peaceful, and deeply loving living experience. Less on the to-do list and more of just being as we are. So today I am talking about the topic of how staying in our comfort zone can really have a negative impact on us as people and us as a community, as a collective. So let's dive into that. I think it's a very important topic, and it really, I think, is important, especially with everything that's going on right now around Black Lives Matter and equality and all of these topics, which are very, very important. All right, so for the first point that I want to make is when we stay in our comfort zone all the time, we are constantly seeking comfort. So we are training and conditioning ourselves to always seek comfort. And when we do this almost above all else. So it's almost as if, we seek out these things and we live our lives in a way to constantly seek comfort. So some examples would be, the way we eat is for comfort. And that can impact our ability to listen to our body's needs and feeding our bodies nourishing foods if we're constantly seeking food as a way of comfort all the time. It doesn't mean that we can't find comfort in nourishing foods, but more often than not, the foods that people find comforting tend not to be the most nourishing in general. Also, when we're seeking and living from a place of comfort, we start to have this inability to face uncomfortable and new things. So we stop trying new things. We aren't learning because learning involves trying new things, involves reading new things and doing courses, and a lot of that can bring up discomfort when it's new. And as I said, it may lead us to do things that are not serving our own health, because not all the times and not in all cases, but oftentimes the things that we seek out of comfort can sometimes, if overdone and done consistently in an excessive amount, can have an impact on our health. So it depends what we're doing, but drinking as an example, drinking alcohol, even watching TV, if we're constantly binging TV, and it's keeping us from being connected to ourselves and keeping us from connecting with other people and keeping us from doing other things that are more nourishing to our body health, our mental health, our emotional health, that's when it can have an impact. Another point is when we avoid uncomfortable conversations. So if we're constantly in need of being comfortable all the time, we're not going to be okay with having uncomfortable conversations. And that means it's going to have an impact on our relationships and our ability to connect with other people. Because the fact is, there are always going to be uncomfortable conversations, uncomfortable situations that come up in our relationships with other people, whether that's our family, our friends, co-workers, people we interact with in the world. There are going to be things that are uncomfortable. And if we are constantly in this phase of resisting the uncomfortable, we're going to push it away. And the more that we resist, especially our emotions, so if we're constantly trying to push those uncomfortable feelings down, they're going to still try to find their way up. So we cannot avoid the uncomfortable conversations. And okay, so then my second point here is when we seek to stay in our comfort zone, we cease to grow as human beings and as a collective. So in order for us to grow, we need to be uncomfortable. Think about any situation where you grew as a person or helped you to grow as a person. That situation was not comfortable. It involves pushing us outside of our comfort zone in order to grow. There's no way around that. So if we live our lives in a way where we're constantly seeking comfort, we are not going to grow as human beings. We're going to continue in the same patterns. Our life will likely stay the same, even if small bits change. Our jobs change, but the environment will be the same. We may switch partners, we may have new friendships, but the same patterns are going to come up. Because if we keep resisting and pushing those things off, the universe and our environment is going to bring these things to us in order for us to grow. Because it's wanting to change, it's wanting to heal, it's wanting to grow. But if we resist it, we're just going to see it keep coming up over and over again. When we view things in a way where we say, this doesn't affect me, therefore I am not going to bring it into my energy. It is basically, and I'm going to say this as a preference before what I say. So we always have the option to decide what we take on to ourselves, what we are able to handle in the present moment, and what we can handle energy-wise. But when we view things and we say things such as, this doesn't affect me, it means I'm not willing to be uncomfortable and face other people's perspectives that are not my own. Now, depending what's going on in someone's life, they may not be able to do that, and that's okay. But it is something to address if we're constantly saying, that doesn't affect me, I can't deal with it, that doesn't affect me, I'm going to stay over here. Because at some point, especially when we're speaking as a collective whole, those things will eventually affect us. You can't hide in a hole forever. And, as back to what I was saying, when there are certain times where people aren't able to handle it, if someone's in a traumatic state and they are just living for survival, that is number one focus, 100%. But in general, saying that doesn't affect me, so I don't need to worry about it, really doesn't work. Because we are a collective, we are a community, and what affects other people does have an effect on us. And one other note that I wanted to say is that healing as a collective is very much the same as healing as a person. So as a person, if we're on a healing journey, it's going to require entering into uncomfortable experiences and situations, and to face our shadows and to face these uncomfortable things, to feel our pain, to look at our wounds and our patterns. And that's uncomfortable work. And that means uncomfortable emotions. It means, the emotions that people have trouble with, shame, guilt, judgment, anger, rage, sadness, apathy. So all of these things that a lot of times are very uncomfortable for people and that people want to avoid need to be felt and need to be faced. And so when we're dealing as a collective around things like Black Lives Matter and inequality and injustice, as a collective, we also need to be able to feel these emotions and go through and look at these wounds and really energetically bring them into our space. And look at, allowing ourselves to, as a collective, to feel what we're feeling and look at our patterns around these things, our belief systems, and really evaluate what's going on. It's not any different for collective healing versus a person healing. And really, as a person, when we heal our beliefs and our patterns around such as a thing as racial inequality and injustice, when we evaluate our own personal patterns and our belief systems and our emotions around all of those things, we also help towards the collective energy, because the collective energy is part of us and we are a part of it. So by doing our own work, we do help the collective. And as everyone does their work, that helps the collective. So yeah, I wanted to make that a point. And the other thing is that it's nearly impossible to avoid being uncomfortable. We may try, and we often do so from a very conditioned place of seeking comfort. And I feel like our society as a whole now is very focused around comfort, when really it's discomfort that helps us grow. And the biggest service we can do to ourselves is learning to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, learning to push ourselves outside of our normal box. And that includes, learning new things. So reading, taking in new information, taking courses, all of that, evaluating our perspectives, our belief system, our patterns, and how that contributes to our relationships with everything in our life. That's your relationship with food, relationship with money, relationship with the people in our lives, relationship with the world and community and collective. And learning to be uncomfortable and pushing ourselves to do new things, which can be uncomfortable as well. Because otherwise, the opposite of that is just stagnancy and staying in the same patterns over and over and over again. And to get outside of that requires us to get uncomfortable, and it requires for us to be able to sit and know that we're uncomfortable and know that that's okay, and to keep going anyways. So I'm wondering how you liked this video. This topic I know is probably uncomfortable. If you liked this video, and are curious for more, be sure to follow my Instagram page, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and be sure to turn on notifications so that you don't miss any future videos. And you may find more videos like this on both my IGTV and YouTube page. So I thank everybody for watching. If you know anyone who might be helped by this or may enjoy this, please share. And yeah, what did you think about this video? I'd love to hear any questions, comments, anything you have to say. And for anyone who enjoyed this episode and is curious about more, I did create a meditation on Monday specifically around dealing with uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable experiences. And you can get access to that by clicking on the link in my bio, or for YouTube, it's a link to YouTube. It'll be a video on YouTube. So you can look for that on Instagram, the link in my bio, or if you're on YouTube, you can find it there in the videos under Meditation Mondays. Until next time, my friends, remember, it's about loving yourself where you are so that you can get where you want to go with curiosity and compassion, one step at a time, one change at a time. Love and blessings.